Hey guys, Pickle here. Want to tell you about our 2018 draft loadout, which is going to be packed full of fantasy football help and knowledge to make you successful at your fantasy football draft as well as in season. You can get your pre-order currently on the Average Joe Nation via our Patreon account. Make sure you sign up there and get yourself pre-ordered. All right, let's get into today's show.
Welcome, Average Joe Nation from around the globe. Props to you for staying up to date and keeping in the know. Fantasy football, man, very soon you'll reign. The knowledge that these three guys have, man, it is insane. Fantasy football talk, hateful eight, they wear the crown. Hold it down, Pickle, Blackburn, and Trimboli, hold it down. Pulling up to LB Design Studio, we're getting loud. Season 2, headphones on, red light go, break it down.
Welcome back to the Hateful Eight Fantasy Football Podcast with your host. I'm Pickle, and with me as always, Blackburn.
What up?
And Trimboli.
What's up?
All right, this week we do have some major fantasy football news, particularly in the injury department, but we also bring you into the friend zone with this week's topic as the fantasy friend zone specifically. So we'll be talking about some of those running back backfields by committee and or handcuffs that you may be looking forward to potentially drafting. So as always, don't forget to follow the show's Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram accounts at the Hateful 8FF. Now, anything before we get into the fantasy news?
Nope.
I got one thing.
What?
Did you guys hear Laurel or Yanni? Did you even hear Bill?
I don't even know what that. I mean, I've seen it, but I don't even know what that's about.
It's like that little crystal thing, and it's like Laurel or Yanni. You're just like, depending on whatever you're hearing decimals, apparently, that you hear, you
Right.
either hear one or the other. And I'll be honest with you, I heard Yanni.
Oh, jeez, I knew I didn't like you. I heard Laurel.
It doesn't matter.
The right answer.
This guy.
I'll have to listen to it, I guess.
All right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Anyways, all right, let's get into the fantasy news and notes.
Fantasy news and notes.
All right, fantasy news and notes presented by Body Armor Super Drink. Superior hydration for today's athletes. Check them out at drinkbodyarmor.com or your local convenience center. Center? Is that right? Convenience center?
Convenience store?
Yeah, that. I'm off. All right. First one out the gate. Nashville, Tennessee is officially the 2019 draft destination for the NFL, which is a big. I mean, I think that's pretty cool.
I'm going.
Yeah.
We'll be there. It'll
Yeah.
be nice. It's finally close. So, I mean,
I can't wait. They were saying Cleveland, too, so either one would have been nice for me.
well, it was
Right.
Cleveland and them, and then there was one other group that they were talking about. But
I like it.
I do. I'm excited that that's a destination that's close enough that we could make that a weekend out of it. So.
That and any excuse to go to Nashville.
Truth. All right, on to the next one. It's not really so much fantasy news, it's just in general, but the Bills did officially release offensive guard Richie Incognito from the reserve retired list. I think it's more or less because he declared that he's no longer retired or doesn't want to be retired. I think he just wanted out of Buffalo, honestly.
Yeah.
Now, he is obviously an immediate free agent, but the problem is there was an incident where he was at some sort of fitness gym or something where he was getting into it, and he ended up throwing weights or dumbbells or something. He was acting out, and they eventually took him in to be mentally evaluated. So I don't know what team he may be playing for. What's on the longest yard?
The cons?
The Cons. Well, not the Cons. What's their team? I forget. It was the Guards and the Cons. But anyways, he might be playing on their team if he keeps up the attitude. Mean Machine.
I don't know the team name.
Mean Machine.
Mean
Oh, is that
Machine.
what it
There you
was?
go.
Mean Machine.
There you go. All right, next one. Another not so relevant, but it is kind of interesting. The Raiders traded for Christian Hackenberg from the Jets. So
Oh, Gruden likes him.
Yeah, he was high on him.
he was in the Gruden camp. He liked him when he had him in for that. But I mean, he's gonna compete for the backup spot with Connor Cook and EJ Manuel in some fashion. They're gonna be figuring out the backup spot. I don't know. I feel like they're kind of all like the same guy, I guess you want to say. I mean, EJ Manuel is probably the only one that's mobile out of the three. Outside of that, Connor Cook has never been a mobile quarterback, even at Michigan State, nor has Christian Hackenberg at Penn State. So, I mean, I feel like you've got two solid pocket passing quarterbacks, their style, I mean. Then you've got EJ Manuel, who's kind of a bigger physical, I guess, quarterback. But he doesn't mind to run, but he still is a throwing quarterback, obviously. But I don't know. I just don't understand. I mean, they didn't give up a whole lot. It was a conditional 7th-round pick for 2019, but
I don't know. Gruden said he was just impressed, and he was the top prospect.
I don't know.
4 years ago, so
He
had a chance to get him for basically nothing.
Well, he's also loading up his specific positions with just a bunch of like would-be's and has-beens and never-will-be's. So.
I know. Don't you think he's like overthinking this?
Well, he brought in Doug Martin.
Muscle hamster.
He brought in Doug Martin for the backfield. Then they went and now they've traded for Christian Hackenberg.
Got Jordy.
I mean, look at the guys that they're bringing in. I don't know. I think he's stuck in like the mid-2000s, but
the glory days.
The glory days. All right.
Days.
All right, and then the injury news: Chargers tight end Hunter Henry tears his ACL in a non-contact drill in the OTAs. Now, from my understanding, he was just out doing some sort of route and came up with a leg injury. So
that's concerning. All these non-contact ACL injuries.
They say that's how it happens.
Well, I mean, how many do we hear in the offseason? Not so much just big names specifically, but in general, and even in the preseason and throughout the year, these guys that they're running around. It's not like when you see something happen where guys are like jumping up and trying to catch a ball and you see them land awkwardly, you're like, oh, that would hurt, and they're right back out on the field. Then you got a guy who cuts and comes back on a 5-yard cut and he's down. You're just like, well, what happened? You're just like, so I mean, I know that there was a study a year or so ago I saw that they were talking about it's the way that the new field turf is set up. It's really helpful on the joints, but not so much on the ligaments for whatever reason. I don't know how that works, but I don't remember when it was regular grass fields, so many people blowing out ACLs and stuff like that so frequently. But
this just stinks because Hunter Henry was on board for a huge year.
I agree.
I was actually looking forward to seeing it, and now we got to wait a whole another year.
Well, I'm 0 for 1 on my bold predictions already, with the injury bug already hit one of them. So
does this open up a door for Gates to come back?
It might. I mean, they have not said. I mean, they've said that they're not ruling it out completely, but I mean, their current tight end, starting tight end now is Virgil Green, who was previously with Denver, who did nothing.
Well, look who their quarterbacks were.
True.
Just saying.
I know.
I don't want to write the guy off yet, but
I mean, there's a couple free agents out there that could be potentially brought in. I mean, where is Gary Barnidge?
That's what I want to know.
I mean, the
last time I
saw him, he was riding on a camel for some sort of foundation of some sort out in Egypt. I mean,
Hump Day.
There you go.
Sorry, I had to.
No, you're
Mike,
good.
Mike. Speaking of Mike Williams will probably see some red zone upticks, as well as Melvin Gordon running the ball. I think they're going to have to, if they don't go out and get Antonio Gates or one of these more prominent tight end free agents, I see them relying more on Gordon in the run game, obviously, and then I figure Mike Williams is probably going to get some shots there in the end zone. Plus, I think, like we talked about, Keenan Allen's value is going to go up quickly now, and I mean, he's going to see targets out.
Well, if he wasn't his favorite target, he is now.
Well, I was going to say now those targets that you figure in the tight end was going to get that we talked about last week between Gates and Henry last year is going to, in some factor, be thrown towards Keenan Allen now. So, never fun to when these injuries come about. I mean, just for the player as well, but for fantasy, then you're like shuffling. You're like, okay, well now you move this guy up because now Hunter Henry. I mean, I had to take Hunter Henry out of my rankings, and that sucked because I really had high hopes. I mean, I figured he was a top 3 tight end this year.
Helps Kyle Rudolph.
It does help Kyle Rudolph.
Sorry, I had to throw that.
I know
He's just campaigning over there.
Evan Ingram is now moved up in my rankings. So did Jimmy Graham. I mean, there was a couple guys that are right there, right outside that top 5 that are now in the top 5. So does that move Travis Kelce back into your top 5 now?
He might be like 6 now.
He might be at like 6A or 6B, but all right. So, like I said, not a whole lot of fantasy news, but I mean, the big one was the Hunter Henry thing, and it just stinks, and
that does.
Yeah.
Oh well. Alrighty. Let's go ahead and get into the big segment of the day, which is going to be the Fantasy Friend Zone presented by Fantasy Fate Ball.
What? Did we just become best friends? Yup.
What? You're in the friend
Oh, that's right. The Fantasy Friend Zone, to be exact. Presented by Fantasy Fate Ball, the one and only Magic 8 Ball for fantasy football. 20 custom answers to help you make those critical start-sit decisions and end the Sunday morning agony. Head over to fantasyfateball.com. Use the promo code HATEFUL8 for $5 off your purchase. All right, so this one is going to be interesting because we really talked about it last week after the show ended, and there's a ton of fantasy friend zones and or running back by committees or handcuffs that you could potentially go get. So we tried to minimize it as much as possible, but yeah. So which backfield do we want to start with? Do you want to just go in kind of order and
Just roll down.
All right. So we'll just start with Atlanta. So at least the notes that I have for me is going to be Devontae Freeman did suffer 2 concussions in 2017. So I think there is some sort of concern about that. And during that time, Tevin Coleman took off, which was to be expected. So speaking of Tevin Coleman, in his final year of the contract, and we all know that he's not coming back next year.
No, they're not going to pay both of those guys.
Right.
No. So with that, it rolls into my next point. Ito Smith was drafted to replace the Coleman spot, I guess, within that offense for 2019 going forward. Now, if something were to happen to Tevin Coleman, he get injured or whatever, or they trade him prior to the trade deadline, I see Ito Smith stepping into that role, but Devonta Freeman is still the guy. It's just, when you look at the notes and everything, I put up some stats in here. The points for them is not that much of a difference between Coleman and Freeman, and where they're going in the draft is crazy. So, but Sarkisian being the offensive coordinator like we talked about last year, still a heavy dose of the running backs in that. Whether it's the passing game or the running game, they're going to use them a ton.
24-point difference for standard.
That's not a lot when you see where they're getting drafted. Devonta Freeman is getting drafted anywhere as
second round,
somewhere around the second round. Early to mid-second round is what I'm seeing. So, and Tevin Coleman, I don't know, where did we have his ADP in here? It's like 7th or 8th round, I think.
Tevin Coleman is 7'6".
So 7th round, 6th pick.
Freeman's 2'9".
2'9". So towards the back end of the second round and towards the middle of the 7th round, and you're getting, last year at least, a 20-point difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Freeman, you're totally drafting for volume. His
right.
the 60% or what is it, 61% snap count. That's what you're drafting for.
Right. That's wow.
Tevin Coleman just does a lot with 41% of the snaps.
Right. Well, yeah, that's crazy to me that you see that. So, what did you guys have for the Atlanta backfield of any kind?
For me, there's enough value for both of them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's not like you have to have one or the other. Like, you don't just draft Freeman and have to go get Coleman. I think Coleman by himself has enough value to be a good running back.
Yeah, and Freeman, like we said, Freeman went out for a couple games last year with the concussion stuff going on, and Tevin Coleman took over. So I think that kind of bolstered Tevin Coleman's numbers overall. But still, when they're in there, it really still is some sort of 50-40 or 60-40 right. Of some form when they're both healthy playing. Sarkisian uses them both. So, it's no different than when Shanahan was in there. They had same concept. They were both used in some fashion. Now, it was a little bit different form of
They were
offense.
more pass heavy.
Right. So, anyways, if you're not getting Devonta Freeman, I don't think it's a bad deal to wait until the 7th round and go get Tevin Coleman, in my opinion.
No.
Right.
And if you do get Devontae Freeman and Coleman's available later, snag him up.
Exactly.
It's a stash. Nothing makes you more frustrated than taking a guy in the 1st or 2nd round and you didn't get his backup. And I'm not saying that you have to jump ahead and take Tevin Coleman in the 4th or 5th, but if he's sitting there, like you said, at 6, 7, 8,
around 9, yeah.
6 through 9.
You can get Tevin Coleman that late.
Right.
That's what I'm saying, though. What if you had them both? When you have them both on your team, though, 2 players like this who have established roles, really, it's almost like, who do you play?
Right. They're going to get the volume.
You're always going to play Freeman, but then you're going to have Coleman on, so you're not going to play Coleman then?
I had Ingram last year, and if I would have got Kamara, I would have played both of them.
Well, yeah, but that situation, Kamara took off. We're not looking at Kamara numbers here, though.
Still.
You know what I'm saying?
No, but theoretically, you could play Freeman and Coleman, like Coleman in the flex.
See, I would, for me, I'd have to avoid. In this backfield, I'd pick one. If I'm either getting Freeman early or I'm looking at Coleman late.
I like it for insurance purposes.
Right.
That's the only reason I would like it. I would start Freeman, but I would feel comfortable having Coleman sitting there in case of a pinch or injury.
Right. I mean, we've seen when one of them goes down with an injury bug or whatever reason, the other one steps up and becomes the bell cow, I guess you want to call it, or the ball carry guy. And then Teron Ward, like last year, he filled in when Freeman went down. It was Coleman and Ward, but it was primarily Coleman's show. And Ward would kind of be like the back to come in to give him a breather. So, but nothing's more frustrating than having to figure that out. But definitely, if you're not getting Devonta Freeman in the second, Tevin Coleman in the 7th or 8th even is not a bad deal by any means, and to stash Tevin Coleman away. So, who do we have next in this group?
The Vikings.
Ooh, that's another interesting backfield for sure.
Dalvin Cook coming off last year's ACL injury.
Yes.
Jerick McKinnon is bye-bye. He's in San Fran now.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, it could be a committee with Latavius Murray because he showed to do well last year.
Mm-hmm.
But I just don't know how much they're going to throw on Dalvin Cook right off the bat.
Well, I mean, looking at this, when Dalvin Cook went down for the rest of the year, entire, I guess, for the 2017 season, Latavius Murray and Jerick McKinnon basically split the carries evenly in some fashion. 38% for Murray, 47% for McKinnon. So my thing is, looking at that simple math, you just cross out McKinnon's name, and now you've got Murray and Dalvin Cook taking that in some fashion. Now, I still think that Dalvin Cook will probably see around, like he saw last year, 65% on the year. Now, that was only for a couple games, but I do think he's sitting at that 60% mark, 60-65 mark comfortably for snap count. And I think Latavius Murray comes in there somewhere around the 30 to 40 range, and then that's kind of how they'll figure out their backfield. And it all depends on Dalvin Cook and how well he's doing. But the thing is, it all depends on which back Kirk Cousins likes. I mean, because he lives in that check down city, so and it's going to be whatever back can catch out of the backfield.
Then it's going to be Cook.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's why I guess I'm still giving the nod to Dalvin Cook, but from all reports that we've ever seen, you're getting Dalvin Cook is going to be used as the bell cow, but just so you know, we are going to still use Latavius Murray in some form.
You know, before Cook went down, I know he's come back from injury, but we're looking at Le'Veon Bell girly numbers out of this guy. And now we're like kind of debating if he's going to be in a committee. I just don't see it. I think Cook's going to be the bell cow guy. He's going to get all the snaps. He's going to be your 1-2-3. I think Latavius Murray is going to give him relief and then red zone appearances.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Cook's going, 2.5.
Okay, so second round, 5th pick, so literally the middle of the second round, so he's a little bit ahead of Devonta Freeman. And where's Latavius going?
14.3.
Ooh.
They agree.
There you go. Well, I mean, but still.
They're going off of Cook's production from last year. I just don't think
Right.
they're going to give him that big workload. Maybe not right off the bat.
I think they might as the year goes, progressive-wise, but I think that you'll see them kind of ease him back in.
Even last year, they wanted to go with McKinnon.
Yeah.
And Cook still outplayed. Like I keep saying, the best player on the field is going to get the ball. He's going to be the best back in that backfield. He's going to get the carries.
True. I mean,
and he's more versatile. So, I mean,
He is.
There's less packages you have to design around him. He can be open on anything. So that's why I think it's all going to be there. I think it's going to be another big year. As long as now, granted, he stays healthy and starts the year healthy.
Right.
just some breaking news. The Packers signed Mercedes Lewis to complement Jimmy Graham, right?
Ooh.
So Jimmy Graham just talked about you moving you up. Gonna have to move you back a couple stops, I guess, now, because Mercedes Lewis is actually a pretty decent tight end.
Don't they
He
still
can
have
run.
Richard Rodgers, don't they still, or whatever his name is?
Richard Rodgers, but I don't know.
How many tight ends they need up here?
I don't know.
Aaron Rodgers really doesn't even like to throw to the tight end.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
You brought in Jimmy Graham, one of the best ones out of the group that you've had in a long time, and you go bring in Mercedes Lewis.
Jimmy Graham's just a heck of a red zone appearance.
yeah.
Everything else, it's like, I can't really run. I'll just stationary.
Well, Jordy was their number one red zone target.
Right.
So now they needed somebody. I mean,
Yep.
Well, all right. Next backfield, Carolina. What do we got going on over there?
All right, we got Jonathan Stewart. He's out. He signed with the Giants. In comes C.J. Anderson.
Yeah.
They drafted DJ Moore. Curtis Samuel and Greg Olson are both now healthy. And it's whether or not you feel Anderson's going to take over that Jonathan Stewart role or if he's going to have a bigger role in this offense.
Yeah, I think he's a lot more talented than C.J. Anderson, or C.J. Anderson is more talented than C.J. Anderson. I think he's definitely more talented than Jonathan Stewart is. So that's the unknown, I guess, of, well, how much are they really investing in Christian McCaffrey? I still think Christian McCaffrey is going to be the passing down, and I think he's going to see a lot more snaps, obviously. But I still think that after talking the couple weeks ago about it, I'm really looking at it. I think C.J. Anderson, as long as he can stay healthy and not have any type of fumbling issues of any kind, I think he's going to see the field a pretty good amount of the time. I don't think that he's going to be – he might be your early down guy depending on what this offense is wanting to do. If it's wanting to go 5 wide or 4 wide and the shotgun with Cam, which is pretty much what Cam's MO is. Cam. His MO is, but I don't know. If they start putting him in the gun, I think that Christian McCaffrey still is the better of the two backs out of the gun and being able to catch in space and whatnot. I'm not saying C.J. Anderson can't do that. I'm just saying that is Christian McCaffrey, literally the epitome of what he is running back that stands left or right next to the quarterback, and he breaks out in a slant or he breaks out of the backfield and he catches it down the sideline. He's gone. Yeah. So
McCaffrey is definitely the more versatile one,
right?
But I still like C.J. Anderson in this one.
I'm still all in on CMC.
I like CMC.
Well, here's what he had 113 targets last year. You know that ties with Funches for the most on the team.
And Funches had nobody competing with him.
Right.
I mean, Olsen wasn't out there, so.
Then I mean, if you increase his, then you just all you got to do is if you increase his rushing attempts. I mean, CMC is might blow up a little bit.
I'm concerned with CMC. I like CMC in general. I like what he can do, but I thought we were going to get the opportunity to see him potentially be
the
feature guy. But when you bring in a C.J. Anderson, it wasn't like they went out and brought in Paul Perkins or somebody out that is not a decent or, in my opinion, a great back, or not a great back, but a serviceable back. They went and got a C.J. Anderson who can step in and be a starter immediately.
When Peyton Manning was in Denver and they had an actual good passing game,
right?
C.J. Anderson was going in the second round.
Right.
But that offense wasn't the same as this offense. He only had 50 targets. I looked him up. That's his max. That's what I'm getting at. He's not that much in the passing game as CMC is, which is a better fit in this offense.
Well, based off on what we saw last year, this is going to be a pass and a lot of dump down screens to the running back. Now, if bringing in C.J. Anderson is some sort of way of them saying, hey, we're actually going to try to preserve Cam a little bit more, maybe line up under center, hand the ball off, kind of do a little bit of the old school ground and pound with C.J. Anderson. But
my thing is, if they were really going to just pass down to the running back, why would they sign C.J. Anderson?
I guess that's where I go back to, is like what I'm saying when I said if they went and got a Paul Perkins, or they went and got some I shouldn't say trash, a lower standard quality back just to kind of fill the Jonathan Stewart touches here and there. But the fact that they brought in C.J. Anderson tells me that they really don't want Christian McCaffrey to be increased in the run game. They want him to stay where he was at last year, and they want C.J. Anderson to basically step into exactly what Jonathan Stewart was, and maybe a little bit more in the red zone.
If they were just going to pass to McCaffrey, they could have went with Fozzie Whitaker or Curtis Hardis-Payne to fill that other spot if that's what they wanted to do.
Okay, so last year, here you go. Christian McCaffrey, 80 receptions, 113 targets. Jonathan Stewart, 8 receptions, 15 targets. So not a whole lot compared to.
He's not a catching back.
Right. So, but in the touch, for the handoffs, for what the running back traditionally usually is, he had 206 touches versus CMC's 197. Now, with that, you only saw Jonathan Stewart only played 40% of the snaps. So he had 40% of the snaps, but had 47% of the touches out of the backfield, where Christian McCaffrey played 70% of the snaps and only had 45% of the touches.
And so that speaks to my point earlier. He fits the offense better because the snap count is not what he's looking at. I just think it could increase. Just even a smidge, it increases. His value goes up.
Right. Well, I guess we're all I think in agreement that Christian McCaffrey is going to be the pass down, and a lot of it fits better into the offense. However, I think like Blackburn and I were saying is they would have got a poor man's version of Jonathan Stewart, or equal to quality wise, would have said something that we're going to go to the passing only style. But the fact that they brought in C.J. Anderson, even if C.J. Anderson literally just does nothing but what Jonathan Stewart did last year. Right. He's going to have 109 fantasy points in standard, 117 in PPR. that's not bad.
No. I'm not saying
So-
he's not. There's not enough value for both. I was just,
Right.
in my opinion, the one I like the most.
No Fozzie Whitaker, obviously, with being injured. Cameron Artis-Payne is obviously the odd man out of this group. So,
You got to look at where they're being drafted, too. McCaffrey, 2.1.
ooh.
Right.
So
There's a lot of.
And where's CJ going at this moment?
9.4.
9.4. So,
Some more people buy into what you guys are, exactly what you guys are saying at 9. I mean, if they're going in the 9th round, that still mean they really think there is something there.
I mean, if I can get a serviceable flex play in the 9th round named CJ Anderson for 110 fantasy points for the year,
Deal.
Yeah.
Where's the dotted line? I will
Especially
sign.
standard. I mean,
Right. Which is exactly what Jonathan Stewart was
Right.
better at, where you look at Christian McCaffrey, only 148 points in standard, which is not horrible, but in PPR, 228. So, I mean, that's where you see where he thrives in.
Right.
So, all right. The conundrum that is the Green Bay Packers backfield.
Boo.
Good
Yeah.
gosh.
Stay away.
This is a do
Yeah,
not
no.
touch, do not draft.
just cross them off.
Just please, when you see any one of their names, just let them go by. No, but seriously, Aaron Jones, Ty Montgomery, both healthy, coming back from the last year, where Aaron Jones was dealing with some injuries towards the end of the year, which got Jamal Williams into the mix. Ty Montgomery was out for the year, primarily, or most of the year. But Mike McCarthy has said Montgomery will be used in a lot of different ways, potentially used in like a Cobb hybrid type situation where they used Cobb out of the backfield in the slot and stuff a few years ago. So they said that Ty Montgomery is their back. I mean, McCarthy has said that several times that Ty Montgomery is going to come back and it's his job. However, I do think that once we get into the actual preseason and the camp and everything, I think it's going to be I guess you could say roll the dice on it. It's going to be either Aaron Jones or Jamal Williams who are going to be your early down back, and I think Ty Montgomery is going to factor into the passing game and or the third down setup. So I don't know.
Just give me Rodgers and Devontae Adams, and everybody else can fight over these guys.
Yeah.
Right, you guys can all figure out what that's going to. But now, in my opinion, if you had to pick one of these guys to draft, what's their ADPs right now with Aaron Jones? What's Aaron Jones' ADP?
Aaron Jones, 11.3.
So 11th round, Ty Montgomery,
13.
13th, and Jamal Williams,
8.
8th round. See,
They
so
think-
anywhere from 8 to 13. So if you had to pick one of these backs to draft as a bench to wait and see, who are you picking?
Well, I wrote it down here. Anyways, it's Jamal Williams, but it's going to be. I want him early to see what he does, and if I think he's going to start losing that backfield, I'm trying to dump him as quick as I can.
Sounds right. I mean, it sounds not like a bad deal. Who are you picking to be the lead back?
None.
None. You think it's just going to be a straight
I'm
committee?
gonna avoid this whole scenario.
I don't blame you there.
I guess if I had to pick one of the backfield guys in the backfield, I think I would have to pick. I think Aaron Jones. I mean, I don't know why, but Aaron Jones looked good when he was playing.
He did.
When he was the starter, and Jamal Williams was healthy, and it was between him and Jamal, and I think he looked actually like a true, for the first time, a back in Green Bay that you could actually start. I mean, Ty Montgomery was getting tons of snaps, and I mean, he's still, with being missing from part of the year, he had still 52% of the snaps. So that's, I mean,
This is going to be the true definition of a committee.
Okay.
Absolutely.
They're a passing offense, and they're just going to ride the hot hand.
yeah. I mean, you got Jamal Williams with 48% of the snaps, Ty Montgomery 52, Aaron Jones 38.
Yeah, it's just it's
I wouldn't want to have to decide which
right,
one to play.
Right. No, and I'm not wasting a draft pick on it.
No.
Well, you know what? You might have sold me on Aaron Jones though, because you wouldn't have to give up a ton of draft capital. So
What, you said 11th round?
Yeah, so
11th
that wait
round.
and see right there. I mean, you could do a flyer, see if it works. If it doesn't, you see it going south. Worse, what you drop
Well,
them.
to me, when you look at Jamal Williams being in the 8th round, that's too high for me
Right.
for this committee of wait and see.
And
If I'm going to go Aaron Jones or Ty Montgomery just because they're at the back end of the draft where you're looking at defenses and kickers and guys that you'll probably never start and or probably drop in a week or two when they're not playing. But Jamal Williams, what did we say Tevin Coleman in them's?
Tevin Coleman's 7th round.
7th round. And then you said CJ Anderson was what, 9th round?
Yeah.
So you got Tevin Coleman 6th, 7th round. Then you got Jamal at 8th round. Then you got C.J. Anderson in the 9th round. I'm telling you right now, I would take either one of the guys not named Jamal Williams in that range
me
versus Jamal. Nothing against Jamal, but I just think that his backfield situation is so cloudy. So
I would take Frank Gore before one of the Green Bay running backs.
Ruth.
And his ADP 17th.
True.
So I'm just saying.
I don't know if I totally agree on that one, but
Hey,
Out of
I'm
you mean
for
out
it.
of the Green Bay backfield? I would take Frank Gore over any one of those guys because what's Frank Gore's ADP right now?
17th round.
17th round.
okay.
I mean, Kenyon Drake's there,
Let's see if this works out.
but Kenyon Drake, we don't know what he's going to do.
Well,
True. We'll get
Gore's role, I think, is going to be strictly goal line
Old,
into a spell.
reliable.
true.
He's
Give
good-
some relief. That's it. I mean,
He's good for 8 to 10 a game.
True. All right, on to Kansas City. First one we got is you're one. You've got Kansas City. Never mind.
Yeah, I do.
Sorry. Go ahead. What's the first point we've got for the Kansas City backfield that is?
Spencer Ware, first of all, missed all of last year with torn PCL, LCO.
Yeah.
Could be a running back by committee. I don't think so. I think it's Hunt's show. But, I mean, if you look at the carries, or with Hunt and Ware, 60-40, 70-30. So it could be somewhere around there. New offensive coordinator who was previously the running backs coach has shown that he uses all the backs.
True. I mean, he's been the offensive coordinator, I think, or running back coach since 2013 when they had Jamal Charles. So
Yeah.
they at that time they used Jamal Charles and Niles Davis and Sharkander West at the time. I mean, they use their running backs pretty frequently. They have one set guy, but
right.
I don't know. I mean, Hunt was inconsistent last year. He started the season off really hot. Like weeks 1 through 5, he was on real good. Fell off kind of week 6 to week 13. He only had like 52 points. And then he picked it back up again the last, 14 through 17. I think 1 through 5 and 14 through 17, he had like 190 points.
yeah.
But in that 6 to 13, he only had 52.
That was when we were all. I mean, last year when we were talking about it, it was like, is he going to score again? I mean, what's going on? I mean, he didn't have 100. I'd have to look at my notes, but I don't think he had 100 yards during that game. That time frame where you're just like,
It just seemed like Andy Reid went away from him for that period of time, but then he started to come back.
true. I think I got my notes here. What his games were for the year. Kareem Hunt. He only had. Looks like he had like. What was that? He had 14. I mean, he didn't have a whole. Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to read my notes, but anyways, I know he didn't have. I'm pretty sure he didn't have any touchdowns during that time frame, and his yardage was under 100 yards because we were talking about is he going to eclipse the 100-yard game again?
Right.
So, either or. I mean,
Well, he only had 11 total touchdowns.
yeah. Well, let's see.
He had 8 rushing and 3 receiving.
Yeah. Wow. I didn't realize. I mean, Sharkander West had 2 receiving touchdowns. So.
And 2 rushing.
See, I just think that there's a situation with what you're investing in. What's Hunt's ADP?
Right now, Hunt's ADP is currently 1.7.
So he's going to the 7th overall pick in your fantasy drafts. And I mean, to me, I like Kareem Hunt and what he can do, but the fact that he went MIA and disappeared from weeks 6 to 13, and I don't think that it was. I mean, I do agree. I think Andy Reid went away from him, but I think Andy Reid went away from him because he was struggling.
Right.
And I don't think and that to me is a confidence thing. And you can't draft a guy number 7th overall and have him disappear weeks 6 through 13. Now, granted, he did finish still in the top, I think he was number 4, but
I don't remember.
But it was because of it was because of the push at the end of the season.
Well, he busted out of the gate immediately with a 45-point performance.
True.
I mean, that right there set the bar, and then when he wouldn't come, he steadily declined every game after that.
And then he disappeared from week 6 to 13, like you said, with only 52 fantasy points. But then he showed back up just in time for your fantasy playoffs. So, I mean, if you're wanting somebody who's going to win your fantasy playoffs, yes, I think he has got the talent to do that for you as your running back. However, if you are, I mean, think about it. If you're struggling from week 6 to 13 and that guy is your number 1 running back, and you're trying to vie for a playoff spot during that time. I mean, because that's the bulk of when you're trying to get into the playoffs is weeks 6 through 13.
Right.
And he is 52 fantasy points, and you probably are going to draft him as your running back 1. That's scary to me. Just saying that to me, I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying I don't like him. I'm just saying that disappearing for the middle of the season when that's when you're really making your push for the playoffs is kind of a big to-do, in my opinion.
Well, give me him for 5 weeks, and I'll trade him.
I was gonna say he's not gonna make it out of the second round.
No.
I mean, I don't think even with Ware coming back, it's gonna make that big a difference.
Right. Where's ADP?
19.4.
19th round.
Yeah.
So he's being like picked up off the waivers, unless you're in a really deep league, like a bigger.
Yeah, like a super deep league.
Right.
Listen, Hunt's still the better back. The only thing that scares me here is Spencer Ware and Hunt are almost the same back. So it's one of those things. If Ware ends up getting hot, he's going to see a lot more touches.
And they're going to rely on the running backs more, I think, with Mahomes at quarterback because that'll help him ease him in. Yeah.
Right. And I think, like we talked about with last year, like you said, with Ware being kind of the same setup as Kareem Hunt's style of play, I think that's what saved Kareem Hunt last year is because Sharkendrick West is not the big, bulky running back. He is a passing down, kind of the gadget running back.
Scat back.
Yeah. So, I mean, to me, that's what saved Kareem Hunt last year. I think if Spencer Ware was in there, and if you take Sharkendrick West's name out and you put Spencer Ware's name into that spot, I think Kareem Hunt goes – if he's struggling from week 6 to 13, he may not get the job back. Maybe that's bold to say, but I think that Spencer Ware –
Well, I think even with Kareem Hunt in there, if Spencer Ware would have never got hurt, we might not even seen Kareem Hunt.
Right.
Well, Spencer Ware was slated to be the starter.
Right.
Right. Well, and that's what we talked about last year coming into the draft. We said that Kareem Hunt was going to be potentially going to be the one that pushes Spencer Ware. We said Spencer Ware's job, but as long as Spencer Ware kept doing well and produced and did what he was supposed to, I think that keeps Kareem Hunt off the field. However, we said that there was probably going to be at some point in the year Spencer Ware's going to struggle and Kareem Hunt's going to get a shot, and he's got enough talent to do something with it. And it was the same thing with Kamara, we said. It's just the way that the backfield that they were put into and who they were behind just kind of set you up for a positive or a negative year. So, but I think, like we said, I think Kareem Hunt is going to be the starting back. However, if he struggles at all, I think that Spencer Ware is going to get an opportunity.
So because of the ADP differential here, you guys are willing to say this is your true handcuff? This is the true one. This is one where you get Hunt. You're looking for Ware late.
If you draft Hunt in the first round or early second round, you better go get Spencer Ware, especially with his ADP being in the 19th round. You could snag him as one of your last picks.
I mean, because if you're going to go ahead, if you take Kareem Hunt in the first round, like you said, and you pick up Spencer Ware, we'll say in rounds, if you're in a 15-round draft, rounds 14 or 15 or even 13, I still think you're reaching at 13. If you take him at rounds...
I don't.
We'll say 13 to 15. Okay. If you draft him in somewhere in the 13 to 15 range and you just sit him on the bench, and he is literally just your injury insurance handcuff. He's the epitome of what a handcuff is. When they explain what a handcuff is for fantasy football, he is it.
It's peace of mind for me.
You literally just set him on your bench at the back of the bench, and you just sit there and wait. And if Kareem Hunt gets hurt or if he struggles, Spencer Ware is going to get an opportunity. And at that point, Spencer Ware literally falls right into the starter role, the running back one role with no competition.
Right.
So. But I agree with you. That's a good point that Trimboli made. That this is finally, out of the groups that we've talked about, this is the first group that we can honestly say this is a running back by. This is the handcuff that you're talking about, or the fantasy friend zone. You're gonna want to grab your buddy if you're drafting Kareem Hunt. You want to make sure that you grab your buddy and go get Spencer Ware later in the draft.
So your wingman.
He is your wingman. He's not as good as Goose. But he's definitely a good wingman to have for insurance purposes.
Listen, as long as I'm Maverick, we're cool.
Right. True. Goose did get the raw deal in that movie. Anyways.
Yeah, he died.
He did. That's why I said to get the raw deal. So, Miami is the next backfield. How do we have that shaking out in the good old Florida, the Sunshine State as they call it?
This is another interesting backfield. But anyways, Jay Ajayi's out. Traded. Philadelphia now.
And got a Super Bowl ring.
Boom.
Thanks, Miami.
Yeah.
Right. You really showed him.
Hey, talk about winning.
Right. You showed him.
Then Damian Williams, he signed with the Chiefs. Good old faithful Frank Gore.
I like him.
Who Blackburn is high on right now. He's going to take him number 1.
I don't know about all that.
And then Kalen, I'm going to butcher his last name.
The Bellagio.
Thank you. Drafted, and he'll work his way into the backfield.
From what I've understood, Kalen Ballage, and I've watched some film on him, but being a West Coast team out in the Pac-12, I didn't get to see a whole lot of his games out at Arizona State. But from my understanding, he looks a lot like a Latavius Murray or a DeMarco Murray, the Murray brothers. Not Bill and his buddy, but DeMarco and Latavius. But I just think that I lost. I had a joke and I forgot who Bill Murray's brother is. He's in Caddyshack with him and everything else. Anyways,
Jeremy.
It's your bull.
it's your bull. All right. So Kalen Ballage, he is an upright. He's an upright running back. He's not a catch out of the backfield. He's not.
He runs upright.
You don't lay down and run.
No, I'm just saying he's a stand-up running back. He's not one that's going to kind of cut and shift and get low and try to cut through the hole and everything. He is literally a stop, plant, and go. That's all he is. Shut up. All right. Anyways,
He's
go on.
not going to hit that hole.
He is not going to go.
Anyways,
he is a horrible.
Well,
running
Adam
back.
Gaze is praising him right now in rookie minicamp.
I know. That's why I'm saying this is why I put his name in here because just make sure that you keep an eye on Kalen the Bellagio.
So who are you guys going with?
Drake.
Kenyon Drake.
Me too.
Indeed.
He showed flashes. I mean, I picked him up off waivers last year for a little bit, and he did really well.
As long as Miami rides him, he's going to be the guy.
Well, I guess that's the concern is when they brought in Frank Gore, you're just like, well, why? I thought Kenyon Drake was going to be the guy. So, but to me, the Miami offensive staff and head coach Gase and them, I don't think they know their left from the right hand. Honestly, at this point,
They're garbage.
Yeah,
they are
That situation's
they're
not
another
good.
dumpster fire of an offense. And
Tannehill's going to be hurt before bye week, and
Brock Weiler is your backup,
Frank Gore might be playing quarterback by that time. We don't know.
or Richard Petty.
Yeah, the NASCAR driver.
Bryce, I mean. Anyways, then they didn't bring in any wide receiver in the draft, really. I mean, they didn't draft any high draft running back or wide receivers to replace Landry. I mean, it's Devontae Parker
and Stills.
and Stills
Richie
and
Cognito could play quarterback. You can throw dumbbells at people. You
This
can
is
sell
true.
football.
Apparently, and he's doing better than Andrew Luck is.
Man, why did dodgeball come in my head? If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball. If you can dodge Richie Cognitos.
Dumbbell,
Yeah,
you
dumbbells.
can be quarterback.
I want to see video of that.
Oh, man. So, ultimately, I think we're all in agreement. It's going to be Kenyon Drake's backfield to lose. It's just a matter of Gore, what kind of role, and you think he's going to be
Goal line.
at the goal line and short yardage. I hate to say it, but I would keep a close eyes on Kalen Ballage and see what's coming out of the regular mini camp, not just rookie, because in rookie mini camp, obviously he's the best back they got. Because
Well, exactly. That's what I mean. Don't take too much into what he said.
For ADP purposes, Kenyon Drake, 4.3.
Okay.
Frank Gore, 17.3.
Ooh, jeez.
And Ballage, 20.5.
So you're saying there's a chance?
So you're saying there's a chance.
And Damian no, he's a Kansas City. Never mind.
Yeah, he gone.
He gone.
His is 25 though, if you really care.
No.
No.
All right.
I appreciate you. letting me know that.
I do. I appreciate that.
Just trying to get information out.
But yeah, I don't know, man. Kenyon Drake, I think that it's his job to lose, obviously, and I think that as long as they truly, like you said, Trimboli, allow him to be the guy and give him the opportunity to. I mean, he showed last year that he can be the main guy, and he came out of Alabama. People were like, well, he never really was the main back there in Alabama. Well, no, I mean, but Alabama also produces tons of really good running backs, minus Trent
I
Richardson.
was going to say, Trent Richardson wasn't one of them.
No, he was not. And then the final backfield that we've got to talk about today in the Fantasy Friend Zone is going to be Tennessee. DeMarco Murray not re-signed after the 2017 season. He gone. Deion Lewis, though, was brought in to be the change of pace back and potentially I don't know. I mean, I think that's another mystery that we're talking about. It's like, well, what? I mean, we know that he's going to be the passing down guy.
Right.
What else are they going to use him for? I mean, is he going to take carries and snaps away from Derrick Henry, or are we like Derrick Henry? We just want insurance just in case if he were to get hurt, or
I don't know.
No, he's going to factor into this offense. Like
in
he's
some
gonna have a
fashion.
role. His role will be there.
Yeah, that's. I guess that's the hidden situation that nobody knows what's going on. But I mean, we really thought Derrick Henry finally was going to get his opportunity to be the one and only back. And then you get Deion Lewis shows up.
Well, think about Derrick Henry, just his time frame on this show alone. So our second show, we did our early ranking running backs, right? Derrick Henry's all by himself. DeMarco Murray's gone. We're thinking RB1, right?
Yeah.
He's a bell cow guy. In between that time, Deion Lewis gets signed. Then we go to our fantasy draft tank show.
Right.
I can't even sell you guys on him being a low running back 1 because of Lewis.
Right.
Now we're circling back to now, and I'm not going to lie to you, depending on your scoring standard, I don't even know which one's the better back.
Well, listen, their ADP doesn't help either. Listen to this.
This is even better.
Derrick Henry, 3.6.
Okay.
Deion Lewis, 5.3. They're like right there.
Yeah. I think it totally depends. In standard, you're going to want Henry. He's going to get the volume of the carries.
Absolutely.
And then
PPR.
Lewis is going to get your passing stats. So.
Yep.
Jeez. Thanks, Tennessee.
I know, no joke.
You ruined a good running back situation with Derrick Henry. Man, that just bums me out when they have a good thing like Derrick Henry sitting there and he patiently waited as the vulture behind DeMarco Murray, and then this is what you do to him. You bring in Deion Lewis, which, don't get me wrong, I think Deion Lewis is a talented back, but we all know here that the Patriots offensive players, when they leave New England, don't tend to add up to what they were in New England. So,
and he's not the staple for health either. I mean, he's only finished 1 year.
Health, yeah.
And he went from 60 carries the year prior, or 64 is what I got, to 108 to 180. That's a lot of attempts.
All right.
That's a jump.
Yeah. Well, Gillislee decided he just didn't want to show up after week 2 for his paycheck.
He's
So
like, I got my 5 touchdowns. I'm good.
I'm good. I've set the bar high for myself for the year. I've already hit my average for my career, so I'm good.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. What scares me with Henry, though, is they brought in the offensive coordinator from the Rams, Matt LaFleur.
Mm-hmm.
And think about this. Gurley alone had 85 targets. I think combined last year, the other two only had 54. So he's going to throw the ball to running back, and Deion Lewis is going to be that guy.
Right.
Marcus Mariota is going to be relying a lot on the running backs.
He could be a sneaky little – the more I look over this, if they go with LaFleur's offense and he's going to dump it more to the running back, he could be a sneak play.
Yeah. They need to because their wide receivers are trash.
Corey
True.
Davis is the only one that I would take out of them. I'm just saying, I think he finally is going to be something. I'm not saying he's going to be a wide receiver 1, but
I think he's going to get his chance this year.
Finally, but I just think that the offensive line was in and out health-wise. I think that Mariota was playing scared, and I just think that
Well, he was doing too. He was running. He was
was
getting injured too. He's playing with injuries.
True.
So I think that you'll see a different offense out of Tennessee with the new offensive coordinator there, LaFleur, coming in. I think that'll be helpful to them. So
You got a true Atlanta backfield right here.
it is. I mean, this is
Both
literally.
have value.
Okay. So my question is, you said Deion Lewis was being drafted 5th round and
Yep.
Derrick Henry was 3rd round.
Yep.
Okay. So my question is, if you have the opportunity to draft one of them at their respective ADPs, which one are you taking?
Depends on what league you're in. Are you standard or PPR?
We'll say half to blend it, to kind of give you a little bit of the monkey wrench.
I like it.
I mean, this is for everybody. I'm just curious what your guys' opinion are, because
Lewis.
we said Lewis was the PPR guy for sure. We said Henry's the standard. So when you put the half in there,
This is tough for me only because so by the 5th round I already know I have 2, so I'm going to do Lewis. 2 running backs, I mean. So for me it's Lewis.
that's what I was thinking. I mean, I think we're all in the same agreement that the way we like to draft running backs early.
Now, if it was straight standard, I would just take Henry.
Right. I just mean I wouldn't have the opportunity at Henry.
But I'm not even in a standard. I'm not taking Henry at 3.
No,
Right, me neither.
He's not my 3rd pick. No, sorry, I'm not making him my 3rd running. Well, I mean, he could be a 3rd.
Somebody will
draft if they go 3 running backs. I mean, with the no wide receiver draft style, that he would be your 3rd running back. So
It's an interesting backfield.
Man.
I'm glad we clarified that because I'm still cloudy over here.
I'm still not sure which
Clear
guy.
as mud, right?
Clear as mud. I'm still not sure which one I want more, but I think we all agree that it is dependent on your scoring system. But when you go to half, it's like, which one are you going to take? So
You got to like Henry's potential touchdown numbers, though.
I do.
So.
I guess that's what I'm looking at.
It just depends on what type of league you're in.
True.
Right. No, you said it right from the get-go.
So, all right. Well, anything else?
No, I think we beat that to a pulp.
Yeah, we did.
Okay. I thought there was going to be. I was waiting. I thought the softball. I thought the joke was going to come for punchline, but never mind. All right. We just want to say thanks again to all of you guys for tuning in to today's show, whether it's on the podcast or on YouTube. Please check out our site, thehateful8ff.com, where you can check out articles and apparel. And as you can see, the polos, the Run CMC shirt. Articles drop every couple days. You can follow our personal accounts at jpickleTH8FF, at jblackburnTH8FF, and at ftrimTH8FF. The average donation has got the pre-order we've got going on. 2018 draft loadout is being built as we speak. I got to take a look at the what we're looking at, and I mean it's going to be packed full of help with the writers what they're putting into this. So it's exciting, and I mean we've had people come in and direct message us and email us and everything else saying that we helped them last year win their fantasy leagues, and I mean that was just the tip of the iceberg. I mean.
Right.
We're going to be even more in depth with like the draft help this year, especially in season as well. So don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. I think that's all we got for today, guys.
That's all I got.
That's it.
So-
See you.
Oh, all right. Thanks again. We'll see you guys next week.
One more time. There ain't no one like these three. You know you just heard Pickle, Blackburn, and Trimboli. Give the goods
Bye.
about nothing but fantasy football. Yeah, it's your year to dominate
Oh,
and
man.
to
And
wear
disappear.
that ring. Prepare for the draft and dial in on your craft. Quarterback, the first round is a good choice, you ask? This guy's got first round pick a favorite. Not so fast.
Bye.
Fail to tune in to Hateful Eight. He's a chump finishing last.
You got anything else? Nope. Bye.